Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news as we talk decision time for Mason Mount. Erik ten Hag waiting on decision time for Mason Greenwood. What's that all about? Anthony back fit for the final. Delot new contract. Centre-back twist with Kim Min-jae. Also reminds me about an update where there are rumours going around that a deal is about to be announced for Qatar. We'll talk about that as well, and a lot of other things to get into on the show tonight. Effectively, there's a big overarching story going on here. A lot of clubs, Liverpool, Arsenal, Newcastle, Chelsea, are doing deals. Are United, and I was told this afternoon, United are on the cusp of having a really good transfer window, but if they snooze, they lose. It could end up being a really bad one. And that's the sort of balancing act that many people in the industry are sort of predicting at the moment. It could go good, it could go bad, because a lot of people are trying to do a lot of things, and it's what United can get done while everyone else is doing stuff. Very interesting indeed. Do not forget to remind me about that Qatar thing. I'll get that straight out after this. We're sponsored by Boohoo Man on the stream. We love a Boohoo Man sponsorship because it's a bit of trivia for you at the start of the show as well. But today's show is brought to you by Boohoo Man. I've got my favourite hoodie on. It's so nice, and I'm going to do a watch along after this for Roma. It's a bit chilly today, so I'm all cozy for that. They're giving you, the United Stand viewer, an amazing 40% discount when you use the code Goldbridge at checkout. You can scan that QR code, or you can go through the link in the video description. A massive 40% off with the code Goldbridge. All sorts of clothing there. Whether you're going out, going down the gym, chilling out, check it out. 40% off. Absolutely incredible. But as you guys probably know, a Boohoo Man promo wouldn't be the same if we didn't have a bit of trivia, and today is no different. So let's dive right into it. Who am I? Don't say Mark Goldbridge. You know, there actually is some. I'm going to give you clues. I was born on the 8th of December 1963 in Scotland. I started my professional career at Motherwell in 1981. In 1983, I signed for Celtic for £100,000. In July 1987, I moved to Manchester United for £850,000. In my first season for United, I scored 24 goals, becoming the first United player to surpass 20 league goals in one season since George Best. I won the first ever Sir Matt Busby Player of the Year award in 1988. And during my time at United, I won 4 Premier Leagues, 2 FA Cups, 1 League Cup and 1 UEFA Cup Winners' Cup. Who am I? Well, I'm obviously Scottish. So who could I be? I'm not Jim White. It's topical as well because they won the first ever Sir Matt Busby Award, and obviously Marcus Rashford won it this year. It is, of course, and a lot of people are getting it. I'm just going to read one out at random. Ginger Red 68. It was, of course, Brian McClare. So well done if you got that one there. It was, of course, Brian McClare. Don't forget, Boohoo Man, 40% off. Get yourself some nice clobber with a big discount. Links in the description. And yeah, go for it. Code's Goldbridge. Right, let's fly into this show. I want to talk about the Mason Mount story. Is really interesting because it delves into the world of what's going on in the transfer window at the moment and how it links in with Liverpool and Newcastle and Arsenal and Chelsea. You might have seen Kovacic is looking like he's going to Man City. Many of you might scream out, why is he not coming to Manchester United? The honest answer is Erik ten Hag doesn't want him. That's what it's all about. I remember Kovacic at Real Madrid. And I really like Kovacic. But you know what? There's a good thing about Kovacic. If Pep Guardiola wants Kovacic has had a bad season. So everyone's saying, oh, Mason Mount's had a bad season. Well, Ten Hag wants Mason Mount. There's players there at Chelsea who've had a bad season, but obviously there's good managers out there that are thinking, you know what? I like these players. So Kovacic is being reported by Fabrizio that Man City want him. Somebody said he's too old. He's only just turned 29. I mean, I'm not. I like him. I've always liked Kovacic. So, but we're not linked to him. But the interesting thing is, this has a direct impact on Manchester United because Pochettino is absolutely desperate to change Mason Mount's mind. He wants to keep Mason Mount at Chelsea. Man United, as we know, there's nothing to add. Ten Hag really wants Mason Mount. Mason Mount looked like he was leaving after the game on Sunday, their last game at Stamford Bridge, it looked like for him. But Chelsea are desperate to keep Mason Mount. So what Chelsea are trying to do is move other players out so that they can facilitate the space and money to bring other players in and keep Mason Mount. That's where we're at the moment. Manu to Liverpool. Well, Rohan, that fits in with sort of what I'm talking about here. we're expecting decision time on Mason Mount very, very soon. Man United wants him. He wants to come to United, but there will be a play from Chelsea who are trying to offload loads of players at the moment. And of course, if Man United miss out on their first target, could that then tumble into a bad summer transfer window? And this is what I was talking to a journalist about this afternoon. And they were saying to me, in the industry, it's chaotic. You've got Thuram linked to Manchester United, the midfielder playing in France. You've got Manu Kone being linked to Liverpool now as well. You've got all these players. We spoke about Agate this morning. There's another player I forget that Newcastle are going for that Arsenal like. There's Declan Rice. There's Caicedo. There is a midfield mayhem going on in the Premier League at the moment. Maddison's in there as well. Mason Mount, Man United. But it's moving so fast. It's a bit like a game of hungry hippos. You know, when all the players, all the balls get thrown in the middle and everyone's whacking their hippo trying to get the balls. And if you go and make a cup of tea and you come back, there won't be any balls left. You're hungry. Your hippo will be hungry. Well, this is what it's like at United. This is like what it's like at the moment. And I was speaking to somebody about this afternoon and they were saying, look, there's loads of good opportunities there. And loads of clubs are trying to devour them. And if they get them, then everybody wins. But if you snooze or you don't get your target, you might end up with nothing else. And that's the sort of situation that Man United could face at the start of this window. If Mount swivels and ends up staying at Chelsea, United have wasted time on that deal whilst everyone else is doing other bits. I was literally told this afternoon, United could have a really good transfer window and get most of what Ten Hag wants because the money will be there. Or they could miss out on everything that's good and end up spending silly money on players that weren't good enough in the first place later in the window. So it's going to be a really interesting couple of weeks and expect a lot of activity. We know McAllister's going to go to Liverpool. Kovacic is now being linked to Manchester City. Mount's decision, Man United need it and they need it quick. But Chelsea are trying to delay it because Chelsea are trying to move other players off so that they can say to Mount, look, we've got rid of them. We've got the money for you. This is the contract offer. This is who we're going to bring in. We want you to be massively part of this project. It's frustrating. It is frustrating. Sometimes it's United's fault. Sometimes it's not United's fault. But you look at what Liverpool are doing with McAllister and Brighton. Brighton are very open to selling him. Liverpool are going to pay good money for him. He's going to come in. Liverpool are looking at other people like Thuram and Kone. Man United are sort of stuck on deals that, unfortunately, we get attracted to these deals that do take time. You know, Declan Rice is going to take time because he's got a Conference League final to play. Then he's going to go on England duty. And there's competition from Bayern Munich, Arsenal. There's big competition out there. So it's difficult for Manchester United to get that done quick. Mason Mount, Chelsea don't want to let him go and they don't want to let him go on the cheap. There's two reasons that will take a long time. The striker situation. We don't look like we're going to do a lot of quick business again. But, as I said, from what I was told this afternoon, it can be a really good window for United. It could be a very frustrating long one again. And we're just going to have to wait and see what happens with it. Even a Rabiot won't happen until the start of July because his contract doesn't end till then. And then there might be other offers for him. It's just who we are. And it's something that needs to change with the new ownership, that we are just so painfully slow in what we attract and what we go for. Liverpool could have 2 or 3 players in by the middle of June. I was told that this afternoon. Man United might not have any. So we need to push it. Of course we do. But that's sort of where we're at the moment. But as I say, I'm just feeding it in. Arsenal, Newcastle, Chelsea, Liverpool, they're all hungry for players in and around the positions that United want. And it's what United are going to end up with, which is going to be very, very interesting. There is still a lot of confidence around Mason Mount, but they need that decision and they need it quick. Let's wait and see what happens. There's a lot of competition. There is a lot of competition. And look, the reality is, as I said, Newcastle, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, they all want midfielders. They all want midfielders, and some of them want more than one. So United really can't afford to be just sat there going, let's wait and see, let's wait and see. They need it. Obviously, I have forgotten. That's my fault. There was a bit of an update on Qatar that I wanted to mention. A few tweets going around this evening. Deleted tweets, reposted tweets, rumours. There was a post that has gone around basically saying that the deal has been done with Qatar. It could even be announced before the FA Cup final. If not, it will be after the FA Cup final. There's been meetings between the Glazers and Al Thani, and this deal will get done. And it's an easier deal to do because it's a full sale and it won't be as complex as doing a deal with Sir Jim. And some people are jumping on it and some people are saying, no, I'm not jumping on it. And the reality is nobody with any credibility who has a job as a journalist is actually saying anything about this. And I'll be honest, I've seen it and I've seen 50 of those in the last month that have been proven to be fake. I would love to have an update like that and I would love to have some insight like that. But the cold, harsh fact is we will not get an announcement before Saturday about who the owner of Man United is going to be. We will be waiting till after the FA Cup final. And we don't know who that's going to be. And I would say that if you want a prediction, I still think that if the Glazers decide they're going to go with Sir Jim, Al Thani will pick the phone up and put in another offer. And then it could run and run and run. So I just don't really have anything concrete to give. And nobody I know has anything concrete to give about it at the moment. Suffice to say, I think it will be after the FA Cup final. Thoughts on UEFA planning to introduce a salary cap? This is clearly an attempt to curtail the dominance of the Premier League, says No Jumper. I don't agree with the salary cap, if I'm being honest. I know some people do. I don't agree with the salary cap. I think at the end of the day, some clubs are always going to be bigger than others. And revenue, wealth in football really should be channeled to players anyway, because they're the ones that people are interested in. But there's better ways than a salary cap to solve the financial problems in football. I mean, I saw that case in the news yesterday where a load of people in the UK got arrested and sent to prison because they were charging people for illegal streams. And obviously there's criminal offences there, but when is the footballing world and the authorities going to wake up to the fact that if you're an Arsenal fan and you're away to Bournemouth, literally only 1,000 Arsenal fans can watch it in this country because we are subject of draconian, archaic, lack of freedom rules that say that the rest of the millions of Arsenal fans in the UK cannot watch their team play because of some stupid rule that makes no sense, that they think all those Arsenal fans are going to go and watch Leyton Orient instead of finding ways to watch Arsenal. They need to change the bloody rules. Simple. My God, Pep is like a lion in a pet farm. How can he add Kovacic to that Man City midfield? I mean, bloody hell, how can United compete against that, says Daniel. Man City aren't going anywhere, mate. They can just keep getting stronger. If I was Man City, what would you do if you were Pep Guardiola and you won the treble? Would you just go, that's it, we've achieved something, or would you go and add another £100 million player just to keep ticking it over? I just want to send great vibes and positivity to the United Stand and United Stand Army. Hopefully we can get Qatar. I just want my team to be up there again. It says Lyle. Thank you very much, Lyle. Hope you're doing very, very well. I don't want Mount. A few people saying that. Well, I can only give you what the news is on that. Couple of positive stories. Let's go into United current players at the moment. We're going to come back out for transfers in a minute because there's an interesting thing about Kim Min-jae to discuss and how that impacts us. Some talk that United aren't even looking to buy a centre-back, so we'll talk about that. But into United, three big stories really. First of all, very happy. Dalot, new contract announced this afternoon. It sort of came out towards the end of my live show, I think, this afternoon, so I didn't really talk about it in great depth. But Dalot's a player I really like. He was always going to sign a new contract, and I almost got the sense this season that Dalot is a player that some of our fans don't like, and I don't get it. I think I like Dalot. I know a lot about Dalot. I know about his time at AC Milan. I know about his character. He's really hard working. He's a professional. He's still learning. I think he had a brilliant first half to the season, culminating in playing for Portugal in the World Cup. Got an injury, came back, Wan-Bissaka took his spot, and it's been a tale of two halves for him, but I think it's all character building, and I'm very, very happy that he signed a new contract at Manchester United. Other good news, Anthony he's suited and booted. He's stood up and he's in a suit. He's going to be ready for Saturday, and that's a massive boost for us. I mean, I can't believe how bad that injury looked like it was going to be against Chelsea, and then he's back for the cup final, and we need him back for the cup final because he's the most hard-working winger we've got. So really pleased. I mean, I don't know whether he'll be ready to start, but ultimately it's only a week out, isn't it? I mean, if he starts, I think he'd probably go straight into the team. So that's really positive as well. Hi Mark, would you let Ahmad go back on loan next season or keep him and use him next season? Says Brad. If he's going on loan, he has to go on loan to a Premier League club. He doesn't go on loan back to a Championship club. But I think with Ahmad, it's about what he can achieve when he comes back for pre-season. He will give us, he will be given that July month of pre-season and tour to show Ten Hag what he can do in an environment with Bruno and Rashford and whoever else is there. And in that environment, if he shines and he's as good as them, he will be part of the team. Am I stupid thinking that it would be better if we lost the final, since it would have put even more pressure on the Glazers? Janusai, you're absolutely stupid, yeah. No, I couldn't give two shits about pressure on the Glazers. Yeah. Would you take Philip Schofield as youth coach, says William. Topical joke. No, I don't want to lose to Man City for that. Not at all. Not at all. There was also a third story I wanted to talk to you about as well. You may have seen Fabrizio was on about this, Fabrizio Romano, on the Mason Greenwood situation. There's a bit of a further update to what we were talking about the other night. Remember, Erik Ten Hag said that in relation to Mason Greenwood, it's not his decision to make, but Mason Greenwood has scored a lot of goals in the past. And I think a lot of people took that as Ten Hag wants Mason Greenwood to be part of his plans next season. Fabrizio has basically said that it's not really that. It's that Ten Hag knows the club have to make a decision on Mason Greenwood. And then when they've made a decision on him, he gets to make a decision. And what that means is, obviously it's a very political thing. You know, there's brands, there's people within the club that might not want Mason Greenwood in it. There's fans that might not want Mason Greenwood in it. So that's a very global helicopter view for the club and the brands and the executives and the board. If they say we're comfortable with the risk, or we're comfortable with the kickback, or whatever word you want to use it, it's up to you, Eric. What do you want to do? At that point, Erik Ten Hag goes, I want him. I think he can be valuable, or I think it's not a good idea. I think we should loan him or sell him. So it's a good update from Fabrizio, but it's also a very, this is why you shouldn't jump on opinions, because it makes sense, doesn't it? Where we're at the moment, the club executively has to make a decision on Mason Greenwood. When it has, and it might just say we're terminating the contract, we're selling him, in which case Ten Hag never has any say. But if they go, look, actually, we are in a position where we think that we want you to make a decision and we want you to make a footballing decision, that's when Ten Hag can make a decision. So I don't think Ten Hag is saying, I want him to play for United up front, but the club have got to make a decision. What he's actually saying is, it's out of my hands at the moment. When it comes into my hands, I'll make a decision. And it could be to play him, it could be to loan him, it could be to get rid of him. So good explanation on where we're at with Mason Greenwood. And I don't know why we can't have open conversations about it. It's not the same as it was a year ago. There is no police case anymore. People will say, well, I've heard rival fans saying United should get rid of him because we've all heard the audio and this, that and the other. Well done. Welcome to the world of opinion. We have all heard the audio. We all know what the accusations were, and we know that nothing happened with it legally. So we're all it's in the court of public opinion, which is what I said a long time ago. And in the court of public opinion, some people will say, I heard the tapes, I saw the pictures, he's a shithouse, I don't want him anywhere in my club. Other people will go, I heard the tape, I saw the pictures, they're inconclusive, I want him to play for Man United. Welcome to the world of public opinion. Welcome to the world of a public opinion court. That's where we're at now. And we should be able to have that conversation. And I think that's what United fans want to have. They want the club to just get on with it, because there's enough things at that football club that we can't control, like the sale. We can't control what players want to come and what players want to go. But we can control that decision. Let's get on with it. Let's make it. Or are we waiting for the sale? Are they actually throwing it off to the new owners? Greenwood would have to be our best striker even without Ahmad back. We really have tons of wingers. Would the club decision change based on the ownership? Says Sia. I think that probably will, actually. People hating on Delo are thick. He's only a year older than Malacia, and if you had to compare the two, there's a huge gap. It's just the Aaron Wan-Bissaka FC getting on him, says Ashan. Yeah, but I don't really get that either, because you need two. you do need two fullbacks. You know, I'm very happy with what we've got at left back with Malacia and Shaw, and I'm very happy with what we've got with Delo and Wan-Bissaka. I think some people thought, let's get rid of Delo and let's get Frimpong in, but do you think Wan-Bissaka would be happy if Frimpong came in? Ten Hag did say we might have to find someone from within to score goals. Maybe it can be an understudy, says Min. Well, as I say, if you listen to what I just said, that decision's not Ten Hag's to make at the moment. Mark, I don't want to go off topic, but I'm stressing over this takeover. Qatar is the dream, but the waiting until after the FA Cup worries me, says Quinn. Quinn, I think you can tie yourself up in knots about the sale of Manchester United. I've thought about it a lot, and you know, in my mind, I see Sir Jim and the Glazers. I don't really see Sir Jim. I just see in my mind, I'm a cynic, and I see the Glazers staying, and that means Sir Jim. But there's no logic to that. It's 50-50. I suppose you can imagine what you know more than what you don't know. You know, you can imagine what it's like to go downstairs and eat porridge and put your trainers on, because you probably do that most days. But you can't imagine what it's like to go downstairs and, you know, eat crunchy nut cornflakes and wear a different pair of trainers, because you don't do that. So, of course, I can imagine a world of Man United with the Glazers still in charge, because I've had it for the last few years. I don't know what it's like to be owned by a state or a billionaire or, you know, somebody with infinite funds. We don't know what it's like. So I think it's easier for your mind to wander towards the negative option, isn't it? But, you know, we'll have to wait and see. I want to move on. I want to go external again. We've been a bit of a sandwich, haven't we? Started with external transfer news. We came within the club. I want to go back out externally again. I want to talk about Kim Min-jae. Mason will have to go with Qatar. Could you imagine the media in relation to the problems with women's rights, etc., if they kept him, says Russell. And Mark, as another cynic, I will say this. What gives me hope is Al-Thani was truly done with this bollocks. He would have walked away by now, says Summit. Yeah, mate, as I said, you can twist yourself in knots here. As we said this morning, it was interesting that Gary Neville came out and said it's logical that the Glazers are going to announce they're staying after the FA Cup final because they know there can't be protests. I actually quite liked that Gary Neville said that, because I know I said it a few weeks ago and I know we've discussed it, but when I say it, that's just my mind working and thinking about scenarios. I hadn't been told that by anybody. That's just a theory. Well, if Gary Neville's having the same theory, he's obviously in the same boat as us. He obviously doesn't know what's going to happen either. So I think that's quite encouraging, because it means that it you know, you'd expect that maybe Neville might know something. He's a businessman, you know, he's got his nose in all that sort of stuff, and he might have had a tip off. He might even be involved with a bid or something like that. So the fact that he's saying, oh, it feels like the Glazers might be announcing it after the FA Cup final, so there can't be any protests, it feels a little bit like, well, it feels a little bit like he doesn't want Sir Jim and he wants Qatar now. Well, it does, doesn't it? Because when I said that last week or whenever it was, or the week before, and I said, I fear that they're not going to announce, I fear that after the FA Cup final, they're going to announce that they're staying because there'll be no protest then. Well, that's because I want a full sale and I want the Glazers out. So if Gary Neville's saying that, he wouldn't say that if he was pro Sir Jim and the Glazers staying, would he? So, you know, Gary's obviously pro Qatar, isn't he? When you think about it, I don't know. Gary's been watching you, Mark. Sandra, I doubt he's been watching. He's very welcome to come on the show, but you know, I doubt he watches. Gary's too proud to admit he's pro Al-Thani, says Sumi, but I don't care about that either. I think there's a lot of United fans who want the Glazers out, want a full sale, but don't really want to say the words that they want Qatar, because Qatar has become tarnished by the media. It's become the cheat code. It's become the Man City mode. It's become the you don't care about human rights mode. It's become the you don't care about women's rights and everything else mode. And yet, so much of our daily lives in the UK is owned by Saudi Arabia or Qatar or Abu Dhabi. And I think the name of Qatar owning Manchester United or Al-Thani owning Man United has been unfairly tarnished. So, yeah, I think somebody of the profile of Gary Neville probably wouldn't want to say I'm pro Qatar, I'm pro Al-Thani, because there'd be a lot of kickback on that from media outlets and all sorts. But ultimately, we all know if you want a full sale and you want the Glazers out, you have to want El Thani anyway. So it's technically that anyway. I'm still really mad about Martial's injury, mate. He better get a Chinese dictionary and learn properly, since that's where he should go. Mario Franco. Mate, I actually am so frustrated about Anthony Martial, but I'm not angry with him because I just think it's just bad luck. Some people get injury prone and he's injury prone. It is what it is. Qatar are more likely to sway the Glazers if Sir Jim is preferred, whereas if Qatar was preferred, I don't know what Sir Jim could do. Gary wants Qatar, says Sia. Thank you very much. Well, let me just say this. I want to talk about Kim Min-jae. Couple of interesting stories around Kim Min-jae today. First of all, Kim Min-jae apparently put an Instagram post out saying that there's a guy out there that's pretending to be his agent and stirring up stories about a transfer. This has Ander Herrera vibes, where United got stung, didn't they, and thought they were signing Ander Herrera. I really hope that the positive stories around Man United and Kim Min-jae are not because we've been speaking to a fake agent. But look, I don't know what's going on there. But then an interesting story came out from Rob Dawson in the ESPN this afternoon saying that there could be interest in Harry Maguire, but it's not necessarily the case that he will leave. And ultimately, there could also be a situation where Man United are not prioritising a centre-back this summer. I think if we are not in for Kim Min-jae, he's going to be playing for a rival in the Premier League this season. We have to be in for that deal and we have to get it done. That, to me, that deal, Kim Min-jae, Man United, if we don't do that deal, we're not serious. We're still going to be the same club we've been for the last 10 years. I think, and I don't know what you think, but I actually think Kim Min-jae is the most symbolic deal of the summer. It almost dictates the summer we're having. Are we serious or are we just papering the cracks again? And what I mean is, we will buy a striker because we have to. It's not even a choice. It's a necessity. We have to buy a striker because we haven't got one. We will buy a midfielder because we do need another midfielder. But we don't have to sign a centre-back. We could go into next season with Varane and his injury problems, Martinez, Lindelof and Maguire. We could do that. But if we do that, that's not what Ten Hag wants. That's not progression, and that's not trying to hunt down Man City. Because you're not hunting Man City down with Varane, Martinez, Lindelof and Maguire as your centre-back options. If you want to improve, and we do, you need to adjust your centre-back roster. You need to keep Martinez, Varane, and you need to remove one of Lindelof and Maguire to bring in another really good centre-back. And Kim Min-jae represents that at ridiculous value because he's got a release clause of about 40 million quid that kicks in July. If United are not prioritising a centre-back, it's because we haven't got enough money, isn't it? There is no way that Man United can sit... We're not Man City. We can't sit there and go, we're a brilliant team, we don't need a centre-back. We need virtually every position, really. So if we're not prioritising a centre-back this summer, we're not serious. So I would say, let's see what happens with the centre-back, because I don't think it's a position we can go, we don't need one, because we do. We need to improve the quality at centre-back. And if we don't improve it, then it just shows that we're not serious and we're not really backing this manager to do the next step. Everyone knows United with the right owners will be hard to beat. They're one of the biggest clubs in the world and will be backed properly, says Ryan. I just don't think it's excusable to not go and get Kim Min-jae this summer. He would love to come to Manchester United in the Premier League. We need a centre-back. He's well priced and we can easily move off one of our centre-backs if we wanted to. You could easily sell Lindelof if you wanted to. That's not my preference, but we can. And we should be getting in Kim Min-jae. So I think he's quite symbolic. And also, if we go for a centre-back, we shouldn't be losing to Newcastle for Kim Min-jae. But Mark, we're getting Qatar, not Man City, Sheikh Mansour. I'm afraid we might turn into a retirement home like PSG, says Neymar Jr. That's a conversation that I am not having. I'm not having that conversation anymore about that because it's an irrelevance. worrying about whether we'd be run like PSG if we got bought by Al Thani is a little bit like worrying about whether you're going to have takeaways every night when you've been starving for years. You're still eating, and you're still getting quite a variety. It might not be good for you in the long run, but you're still eating. We're being starved at the moment. So I accept that Al Thani and Qatar may not deliver titles, but it's still infinitely better than what we have. I don't think, what I'm trying to say is, I don't think you could logically sit there and say, I'd rather stick with the Glazers because if Al Thani buys us, we might end up being run like PSG. Well, that's still going to be way better than what we've got. You're arguing about how good the ownership model will be. Will it be okay? Will it be good? Will it be excellent? It's still going to be way better than what we've got, and it's still full sail, Glazers out. So I think, though, what I'm trying to say is, I think those conversations are the conversations you have once you've been bought. And what I will say is that whoever buys Manchester United, whether it's Al Thani, whether it's Sir Jim, whether it's the Glazers staying or whatever, we as football fans and football fans of any club should always hold their clubs accountable. I would hope that Newcastle fans, if and when things start to go wrong, they show their frustration with their ownership and their executive board, because you can't just always be, oh, thank you, oh, we're eternally grateful. Like, the whole thing about running a football club is, look at Todd Boehly in Chelsea. He was this great thing a year ago. He's chucking his money at the club, and they still want him to do well, but they do question a lot of the stuff he's done. You have to do that. So the first step is to get the right ownership model, and then the next step is to keep them on their toes and assess it, you know? Mark, BN Sports have been broadcasting a lot of documentaries lately. So, Man United documentaries, says Insan. And Simon, welcome to... Well, he's been a member for 12 months. He's been a member for a year. Thanks for supporting the channel for all that time, mate. PSG is like Bayern, only in France. When they can't win the Champions League, City hasn't won it yet either, says Rustlick. I mean, I'd take what PSG have had if it was representative. Like, if we could just win the domestic league all the time and not the Champions League, I'd still take that. It's still better than bloody not being anywhere near it, isn't it? So, you know, I don't hold much of a problem for it, really. Somebody just drawn my attention to something I just need to check online. Let me have a look. Jamie Jackson, who writes for The Guardian, has said that, as it's understood, Al Thani is still waiting to hear back from the Glazers regarding his last bid for Manchester United. Yeah, well, that doesn't surprise me at all. We're just not going to hear anything before the FA Cup final, are we? We're not going to, and we're just gonna have to wait. We're gonna have to wait and see. I believe that Ten Hag has his press conference tomorrow for the FA Cup final. I just want to just say this. I was playing FIFA on Twitch this afternoon and was having a bit of a chat like we always do. Tillemans is available. Would you take him? Says John. No. You know what? What a great super chat, by the way. But in a world where you've got Thuram, Coney, Casido, Mount, McAllister, Lefebvre, give me more names. There's so many. There's so many midfield. Ugarte. This just, you know, Barella, Declan Rice. There's just so many players out there. If we end up with Tillemans, that's failure. I'm sorry. There's just so many exciting prospects more than Tillemans. If we end up with Tillemans, that's what I was talking about at the start of the video. We could have a really good window, or we could miss out on a lot and end up spending our money on players who aren't as good. I think Tillemans would be a bad signing when there's so many better players out there. Yeah, that's my opinion on it, but you know, that's my thoughts. But yeah, I was just going to say this. I know that FA Cup final is coming. Is anybody else feeling like it's coming too quick? Like, sometimes when it's a big game, the week drags. I sort of want it to drag because it's so big on Saturday that if we get it wrong and it's gone, it's gone. I actually wanted to just relax into this week. I can't believe it's Wednesday night already. It's like it's bloody fast tracking. Worry about guitar running is like worrying that winning a fortune might ruin your life after buying a ticket when you're not won it yet, says Glenny Boy. Very good. Well done. Well done. I like that. I like that. Everyone, I've done that one from Ryan Edwards as well. Right, I've got to go and set up for the Europa League final. I'm supporting Chris Smalling and Jose tonight because of the Man United connection, and Sevilla knocked us out as well. So I'm Team Roma tonight. I wasn't even thinking I was going to watch this a couple of weeks ago, but maybe it's the lack of football since the season's ended and the FA Cup's obviously coming up. So I'm actually just really looking forward to watching a final. So if you want to join me, I'm going to be on That's Football in about 5-10 minutes. We'll go live for an 8 o'clock kickoff. I'll push you over there now and I'll speak to you over there. But thanks everyone for tuning in. Don't forget to smash the like and subscribe. And do not forget Boohoo Man. You can get beautiful hoodies like this with 40% off with the code Goldbridge. They do shorts, t-shirts, the lot. It's summer. Get yourself some nice clubber. Links in the description. Big shout out to Boohoo Man. And I'll see you over on That's Football in a few minutes' time. It's going to be a good final, I think.